Okay, for this lesson, we're going to be focusing on using synonyms as context clues. The goals for this lesson are for you to be able to identify the meaning of an unfamiliar word using those context clues, including synonyms. Okay, so sometimes an author will include a synonym near an unfamiliar word. So what is a synonym? It's a word that means the same or almost the same as another word. And again, sometimes I told you there will be the word and then a comma and then a short definition, or it could be a synonym or an antonym of that word and then another comma. And basically you'll know that the two commas right after a word like that separate out of a sentence, or not a sentence, but a phrase. Okay. And usually that phrase is going to be a clue to help you figure out what that word meant. Okay. So also look for clue words like or also known as, and again, the commas that set off that synonym. So for example, the girl was elated, comma, or extremely happy, comma, when she got the news. So notice that the phrase or extremely happy is set off by commas and it's right after the word elated. So we know the word elated means extremely happy because it's telling us right in the sentence. Okay, it's right there. All right, so we're going to watch a short video on using context clues to figure out words.
Hello there, friends. I have been excited for this lesson for a very long time because today we're going to be talking about cinnamon roll context clues. I don't know about you, but I love cinnamon rolls. They're so tasty, delectable, yummy. Not now, Mia. Let's see, where's... Oh, appetizing, delish, flavorsome. Mia, what is it? We're not talking about cinnamon roll context clues. Oh, that's right. Synonym context clues, not cinnamon. That still sounds exciting, just a lot less tasty. All right, friends, let's learn all about synonym context clues. I admit I made a pretty silly mistake. I heard cinnamon instead of synonym. Today's lesson is focused on synonym context clues. We already know that context clues are clues located within a text that help readers understand the meanings of unknown words or phrases. Last time, we learned about example context clues and definition context clues, which both describe things in a straightforward manner. Definition context clues provide the meaning of an unknown word in the sentence or surrounding sentences. Example context clues give the reader a list of examples that help explain the meaning of an unknown word. Today's lesson is focused on synonym context clues. Synonyms are words with the same or similar meanings. For example, back when I was talking about how delicious I think cinnamon rolls are, I used all of these words. These words are all synonyms for delicious. A synonym context clue uses a similar or familiar word to repeat or restate the unfamiliar word in a text. We can infer the definition of the unknown word when we know the meaning of its synonym. Let's look at some synonym context clues. We didn't get to try any cinnamon rolls earlier, but we can still think about baking. Let's look at some examples. After a long day of baking and spilling flour everywhere, Mia came out of the kitchen with her apron disheveled, looking pretty messy. Looking at this example, the word disheveled is pretty unfamiliar. What does disheveled even mean? Disheveled seems to be describing Mia's apron. I also see the word looking nearby in the sentence. Disheveled must be an adjective that describes what something looks like. Does the writer use any more familiar words to describe what something looks like? Oh yeah, the writer uses the more familiar term messy to also describe Mia's appearance. I know what messy means, which helps me understand Mia's appearance. If Mia's appearance is messy, that helps me understand the meaning of disheveled. Disheveled and messy are synonyms. Let's look at another example. My sister, Becca, was admonishing Mia for making a mess, gently likely scolding her to remind her of the kitchen rules. What does admonishing mean? While I don't know the word admonishing, I can see that it seems to be an action that Becca is doing towards Mia. Do you see another part of the sentence where Becca might be doing an action towards Mia? Looking at the rest of the sentence, I can see that Becca is doing another action in the second part of this sentence. What is the action that Becca is doing towards Mia? Becca was scolding Mia. I'm much more familiar with scolding, which I know means to angrily criticize another's actions. I now know that admonishing is synonymous with scolding, and both describe how Becca spoke to Mia. Let's look at the next sentence here. Becca and Mia were exuberant when the cinnamon rolls were ready. They were so excited as they took them out of the oven. What's the meaning of exuberant in this sentence? I was unfamiliar with the word exuberant, but it seems to describe how Mia and Becca felt. A word that describes their feelings that I am familiar with in this example is excited. The author used excited to describe how Mia and Becca felt, similarly to how they used exuberant to explain how they felt. When I connect those words, I know that exuberant is synonymous with excited. So, that's how synonym context clues allow you to use your prior knowledge of vocabulary to find the meanings of unknown words. Mia and I are absolutely jubilant today, not just because of the baked goods we made, but because we now know how to use synonym context clues. Actually, we're not just jubilant, we're also elated and excited and exuberant and exultant, joyous, happy, cheerful, contented, delighted, ecstatic, glad.
Okay guys, it's that time again. It's time to practice. So remember to complete all the lesson activities and take notes so that you're ready to use those on your test at the end of the unit, okay? This particular lesson focuses on specifically using synonyms as context clues to figure out those unfamiliar words. Have fun!